Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is...
Autumn Garibay.
And this is...
Logan Garibay.
And today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang and a plan to save American cinema and catapult Andrew Yang back into relevance and back into the U.S. presidential primary candidacy, and a plan to smoothly, safely bring America back into public life using an industry that there could not possibly be a more American way to do it, which is the American cinema. So all of this has to do with Andrew Yang, Paul Atreides, Sandworms, and butts in seats in American cinema. So I'm going to present to you the story of Dune, which right now, as it's planned, is planned to be a 2020 Warner Brothers film releasing in December. I have a plan to change that. That would involve Andrew Yang. But let's get into Dune and let's explain to everybody what Dune is. And both of you are millennials and probably have very little knowledge of Dune. I have a lot of knowledge of Dune, so I will explain the entire structure of the story. I'll talk about it in the context of the film, and then we'll talk about the plan that Andrew Yang can use to leverage this film in a way that will help himself, will help the Democrat Party, will help America, will help American theater, all of that. So let's talk about it. All right, so first of all, the movie that's coming out in 2020 right now as planned from Warner Brothers stars the following characters and the following people, and all of this maps to the 55-year-old sci-fi classic Dune, written by Frank Herbert. It's the best science fiction novel ever written by any American author except Neil Stephenson's Anathema. So it's the second best, which means it is an absolute American classic. All right, so let's sweep through all the characters. So it stars so all of this is a space epic, okay? Dune is a space epic. It stars Lady Jessica, who is Paul Atreides' mother. Lady Jessica, feel free to jump right in and ask any questions you have as I go about this. Lady Jessica is a Bene Gesserit. She is essentially from a powerful religious sect that has women who can tell the future. Okay? Lady Jessica is married to Leto Atreides. He's a powerful noble house from House Atreides. His opponent is Vladimir Harkonnen from the Harkonnen house. Lady Jessica and Leto Atreides have a son named Paul Atreides. Paul Atreides has military servicemen who serve him. Duncan Idaho, Gurney Halleck. They're all aligned with his house. The entire Atreides house is sent to Arrakis, which is a dirtball desert planet where spice is mined. Spice is a drug that is used by the navigators to allow ships to go light speed and to jump to different places in the universe. Okay? All of that, and so when the House Atreides goes to Arrakis, by the way, spoilers for Dune, for the 55-year-old story, Dune. Spoilers. You only have 55 years to read it, but spoiler alert. All right, so so you have this, 55, and so they go to Arrakis to mine the spice, and the Harkonnens try to ambush them, and there's a battle between House Harkonnen and a battle between House Atreides to see who will win control of the spice and pretty much rule the empire, right? And Paul Atreides is at the center of all of this. Now, first of all, I've told you the story. American industry has been driven by American space sci-fi industry. Billions of dollars of American industry have been centered around Star Wars since 1977. The story I just explained to you, do you think that can replace Star Wars in a time where Star Wars desperately needs to be replaced because the last series turned out to be complete brass and no one liked it? What are your thoughts?
I do think that Dune will be a great movie. I actually did watch the original movie with you long ago, but And I remember the Sandworms and Spice, so thank you for that overview, and I'm looking forward to seeing it yet again but this time in theaters.
No, you're talking about the 1984 movie, right?
Yes.
That
so
was
I didn't see it in theaters with him, but he has always been a big fan of classic movies, especially classic sci-fi movies. So I definitely get the comparison to Star Wars, and I think that yes, if do you know who is producing this?
Yes, Warner Brothers is producing this.
If Warner Brothers plays
Warner
their
Brothers
cards
produced
right,
Batman and Harry Potter.
yes, if Warner Brothers plays their cards right, this could possibly replace Star Wars.
What do you think? Does that sound like an exciting story?
Yeah, but like at the same time, 17 other things can replace Star Wars. So
Really?
Like what?
Do you mean like a new franchise? Like,
Right. What could take the place of an American sci-fi epic?
Well, Cyberpunk hasn't been around in a while.
Well, so Cyberpunk is near future, right? Yeah. And actually, Cyberpunk is really considered a failed genre.
You mean like
a science fiction action adventure series? The same way, and the reality is, the reason why I'm bringing this up today is Star Wars is in big trouble, right? Big trouble, right? Like, the first trilogy was good. The second trilogy, people were like, "That's terrible." And then Disney was like, "You thought the second trilogy was bad? We'll up that by 1,000,000-fold. See how much worse this is." And this isn't small potatoes. Our government has already bailed out multiple financial organizations. They bailed out Harley Davidson more than once. They've bailed out food. They consistently get involved in the food industry. The idea that America should not be involved in the movie industry now, when the movie industry is absolutely in catastrophic trouble, is ludicrous. Clearly, American government needs to get involved in the cinema, like, immediately. And I really feel like this. So with that said, I don't think Star Wars is easily replaceable. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's easily replaceable, and that's kind of my point. Like, how could maybe this
Oh, great. How could this do it? Why would this matter? Let's get into it. All right. Let's sweep through those characters, and let's talk about people. Okay. Lady Jessica is played by Rebecca Ferguson. Never heard of her. I don't know what movie she was in. Keep going. Paul Atreides is played by Timothée Chalamet. Do either one of you know who Timothée Chalamet is?
Only by name. I recently heard an impression of him, but I cannot think of a movie I've seen him himself in.
Sure, no problem.
What about you?
I can tell you about Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet is a critical darling. Nobody's seen his movies. They all make dirt. They make no money. But every critic in America loves him. Okay, now, let's keep it moving. Leto Atreides. He's played by Oscar Isaac. Do either one of you know who Oscar Isaac plays in the latest Star Wars series? The character.
Poe.
That's exactly right. So, Poe so Leto Atreides is Poe. Poe is Oscar Isaacs. Oscar Isaacs is a multi-billion-dollar star. He is in multiple movies that made $1 billion plus. Okay? Let's talk about Chani, the Fremen. Okay? Chani is a Fremen who Paul Atreides will meet on Arrakis. She is part of the desert people. She wears a still suit which keeps her water in her. Do you know who plays Chani by chance?
Is that Zendaya?
That is Zendaya. That's
Yes.
exactly right. What was Zendaya? Have you seen Zendaya in any movies?
I kind of mix her up with Selena Gomez. So
That's okay. Well, I'll give you a hint.
That's
She was at
show.
Thwip.
Oh, Spider-Man. She's the
That's exactly right.
She's the girl that
Yeah, but,
Peter Parker's. Yeah.
but don't feel bad for mixing that up because she actually did start as a child actor, I believe, on Disney Channel.
That's exactly right. Zendaya is in the Spider-Man movies. Multi-billion-dollar franchise. It's made well over $1 billion. She's a multi-billionaire actress. She's been in films that have made over $1 billion. Okay? Here's the next one. Vladimir Harkonnen is played by Stellan Skarsgård. He was in Avengers Ultron. Billion-dollar franchise. Okay? Duncan Idaho is played by the lamest superhero in DC who can talk to fish. Who is that?
Aquaman.
That's right. Do you know what that actor's name is?
Jason Momoa?
That's exactly right. Multi-billion-dollar actor. Does anybody know what series he might have been in? Where he played the husband of Khaleesi, the Dragon Queen? Game
of Thrones?
That's exactly right. Multi-billion-dollar actor. Okay? Gurney Halleck is played by Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin did the voice work for somebody in Avengers Endgame.
Thanos.
That's exactly right. Multi-billion-dollar movie, right? This ain't Domino set up to fail. This is a multi-billion-dollar film. Warner Brothers spent $175 million on this, and they want this to replace Star Wars. Here's my plan, okay? Andrew Yang comes in and he says, listen, we need to give people permission to go back out into the world. I am unsuspending, and this is my plan. I will save American cinema. While Joe Biden sits over there and does nothing and lets American cinema die and does not deliver on his promise for a female vice president, here on day one of my unsuspend is my promise to save American cinema. Here is my VP, Stacey Abrams, delivering the promise that Joe Biden sat on for weeks and months and did nothing on, the same way he's going to do for you for every other thing in America. What's our plan for this? Oh, what did Obama do? Can somebody go get that file? Right? And as soon as he has a single decision, which Obama didn't already make, it takes weeks and months, and he does nothing. So Andrew Yang comes out and he says, here's my plan. America, on September 1st, releases Dune by director Denis Villeneuve, and America buys a ticket for 180 million Americans, everybody 13 and over, because it's a PG-13 movie. 180 million tickets, and all you got to do is go to the movie theaters, present your idea, you're let in for free, and the government sends a check to every single one of the 6,000 theaters there are. That's my plan. That's what Andrew Yang should do. It saves American cinema. It gives everybody a trigger to go back out in September, which they're going to need to do anyway because the kids have to go back to school. It sets up a replacement for Star Wars, which America desperately needs because it was a hugely valuable American property, which is now on fire, right? And it hugs one of our greatest cinematic studios, which is Warner Brothers, which desperately needs help because Disney has been crushing them for years. It solves 55 problems at once and is awesome. Go. What are your reactions?
One thing I definitely think of is the problem, or what I think is cinema is the biggest American quality. I do think it is a major one. I do not think it's the biggest. I would argue that you could say, hey, everyone gets to go to some fast food place and eat a quarter-pounder burger and shove it in their face. That, in my opinion, that's the same amount of American as that. But I do get that it is very important for some people that they get to have cinema. And allowing them to do this might help mental health or other things, other side effects from the main cause. But... yeah.
Yeah, so, those are all very good points, Logan, and I actually want to take a minute to say that, all the reasons I think that's a pretty good idea. There are, a lot of, some issues with it. I don't think it's a very traditional idea, but the more I thought of it, it's a very Yang idea, because it's
exactly.
almost, also, I feel like it would be a great, advertisement for him as president, because it's almost like a taste of UBI. Like,
right.
Every
Everybody
adult American gets something.
Exactly.
Maybe not $1,000 yet, but a movie
That's
ticket
exactly
is a good
right.
start. Now, I will also state my qualms with it. Dune should be a great movie, but it is a PG-13 movie, so it is going to be restricted to older Americans, and just the logistics of all of that, since people 12 and under can't go. Childcare, or actually, this should be at the start of the school year. So maybe some of that would be ironed out. And
so I do have a counter to that. I don't think any of it needs to be ironed out. And the reason why is I don't think PG-13 movie is a block for any children to go see this. So you could bring kids as young as 8. That's up to the parents. And the reason why I think you could easily do this is we know when Deadpool came out, many, many, many parents took their kids to see Deadpool rated R in theaters.
Very true.
So this being PG-13 would not be a blocker. And I think a lot of parents would bring a lot of kids all the way down to as young as 8. Now, I agree with you,
Our
6,
family's
7,
no exception,
and
but the government would not be able to provide those tickets. And I also don't think that...
Oh, no, I'm saying they would pay for it.
The children's tickets?
Children's tickets is what anybody who wanted to bring any... And it's PG-13. That doesn't mean 13-year-olds can't go. It means they can go with their parents' permission.
Right.
So any children that were brought, America would buy those tickets. And also, to be clear, if Warner Brothers had any idea of saying, oh, we'd like to lose half our money by releasing this as rated R, Andrew Yang would literally sit down with their studio execs and say, maybe you make money and don't make the mistake of Deadpool and every other, rated R movie except Joker. So that'd be kind of a no-brainer. I don't think PG-13 would be a real blocker. Other objections that this isn't an awesome idea, or confirmations that this is. So.
I did some math before this, and I just did some simple things. So I found out there were about 6,000 movie theaters in America, and each theater has an average about 200 to 300 seats. So I went for the maximum for both. So I just did 6,000 times 300. You get 1.8 million.
That's right.
Which is, you said like...
To get to 180 million, at 2 million a day, you need to do this for 3 months.
Yeah, so 1.8 million means that at any time, only
only 2 million a day could go see this. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if there's lines and people can't get in because it's sold out, all the better. Because people go and then they're like, well, it's too long, we'll have to wait until next weekend. And then everybody has this very American, classic piece of art, which has beautiful symmetry, and check this out, has ideas that are very relevant today. The Dune story is about water scarcity, which a lot of people think we're going to have at some point. We already have it, Flint. Like there's literally a town in America where they couldn't get clean water, so there's a water scarcity there, right? It talks about the Fremen. People who are underestimated but are more powerful than people know. Major theme for the day, right? The Bene Gesserit, an institution who plots and schemes and retains power over generations. Come on, blue power base, red power base. It talks about 60s cultural experimentation. It talks about the use of intoxicants. It talks about unusual relationships within love structures. And here's the biggest one. You guys aren't even aware of this. One of the most famous quotes. This is on at least 100 people. This is tattooed on at least 100 Americans, probably well over 1,000 Americans, which is the term, fear is the mind killer. This movie talks about fear in depth. These are super relevant structures that go right to what we're dealing with today. And Yang can bring out this American art form to be shared at the same time by Americans. If we get to September 1st and it's not safe to bring people back, just bump it back one more month, go to October. However, I'll tell you right now, if we can't if the kids are not able to go back to school in September, we got a huge problem. The world changes even more than we thought. So I think having everybody return to theaters in September makes a ton of sense. But we would allow the CDC to throw the flag on it, and they could say, no, you guys need to wait until October, November. And if it goes past November, we don't even do it, because at that point, the election's already determined. But I think this is a super, super smart thing for Andrew Yang to do. Do you guys think it has any chance of working? If he did this, would this make him an attractive candidate compared to Biden? What do you think?
Definitely. I think if it happened, probably. Just it's a lot more appeal than Biden has. Period.
Yeah.
It's very unrealistic, but I think that's kind of yang. But yeah,
he's a long shot. I never claimed anything but. Go right ahead.
I think that this puts him leaps and bounds above Biden. I think that this is going to be something very attractive to Democrats who would support the government supporting most industries in need. If he hopefully gets past that and to Trump, I see this as an idea Republicans would ridicule.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. All of that is our opinion. But what's your opinion? Do you think this would work? We'd love to hear what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. And if you've never read Dune, read it immediately. It's amazing. Much better than the 1984 movie. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.